What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. In this video, I want to talk to you about another overlooked SHTF prep. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about crosscut saws. And so a crosscut saw is really important, in my opinion, for a long-term grid down SHTF event. And the reason why is you're going to need firewood to heat your home and to purify water and cook, especially if you live in a cooler climate like I do in north central Pennsylvania. We get pretty cold winters here, so firewood is something that's absolutely critical for surviving a long-term grid down event in my part of the country. And even if you live in some of the warmer places like in the deep south, you can still get some cold nights in the wintertime. And if we're talking about a long-term grid down event, you need a way to process firewood. And specifically, you need a way to buck up firewood or buck firewood, okay? And bucking is just a word for cutting a straight log into shorter sections, usually 16 or 18-inch long sections, depending on what kind of wood stove you have or what fireplace you have, what size of firebox you have. But bucking is absolutely critical. You need a way to buck up logs and process them down into manageable pieces of firewood, okay? Now, a chainsaw is great, and I recommend that every prepper have a good quality chainsaw. I recommend the Steel Farm Boss as a great all-around affordable option for the average prepper. I've used the Steel Farm Boss for many years, including when I had a firewood business. I cut probably hundreds of cords of wood with that saw, and it's not even a professional grade saw. But, you know, there may come a time where it might be difficult to find components to keep that chainsaw running. Okay, chainsaws need bar oil, which you could substitute with other types of oils. You could use vegetable oil, you could use motor oil, but really, if you use those other types of oil, they're not designed for use on a chainsaw, and you'll find that your chain will overheat, and it's just not going to lubricate as well as specifically engineered chainsaw bar oil. So you're going to need bar oil, you're going to need spark plugs, sprockets, spare chains, spare bars, carburetors. I mean, all these parts on a chainsaw need regular maintenance. And in a grid down situation, it might be difficult or impossible to find those parts. And just starting with the number one most important component of any kind of 2-cycle engine or 4-cycle engine is gasoline. All right, and you're going to need to find gasoline to keep that chainsaw powered. And finding gasoline might be hard. You know, gas stations might be shut down. Whatever the case may be, you want to have some kind of tool that you can use that doesn't require a lot of parts and fuel, okay? And these crosscut saws have been used for over 100 years before chainsaws were invented, okay? And this particular crosscut saw that I have is a 3.5-foot Tuttle tooth crosscut saw, and I'm going to be doing videos on how to maintain these crosscut saws and explaining the differences between them. But there's different types of crosscut saws. You need to know what you're buying. Don't just buy anything. The most important thing to look for is the type of teeth that you have on your crosscut saw. This particular one, like I mentioned, is a Tuttle tooth crosscut saw. What that means is you have 2 teeth for every 1 raker. Okay, there's also the lance tooth saws, which have 4 teeth for every 1 raker. Now, for my part of the country or my part of the world, we have a good amount of hardwoods like oak, maple, beech, birch, etc. And Tuttle tooth crosscut saws are the best for hardwoods, and lance teeth are best for softwoods, like in the Pacific Northwest, where you mostly have firs and spruces, or if you live in some place like Alaska or Canada, or a place where you're basically 70% of the forests are softwoods or some kind of evergreens, then you want a lance tooth, okay? But for places like the northeastern US, the Midwest, any place where you're going to have harder woods mixed in with softwoods, you should get yourself a tuttle tooth saw, okay? Because it's going to stand up better to that hard wood, and it's not going to dull out as quickly. And you have to know how to sharpen these saws. It's not very straightforward. It's not like using a regular hand saw that you buy at Home Depot. These are basically a work of art, okay? And maintaining them is a work of art. So, it's not just one of those things where, oh, I'm just going to buy it, throw it in a closet, and then when SHTF comes, I'm going to just pull it out and start cutting wood with it. Doesn't work that way. You got to buy one of these and practice with it, know how to maintain it, know how to use it. And I'm going to be doing a series of videos on that, okay? So stay tuned to my channel for those videos. I'm going to do probably a whole series just on crosscut saws, how to use them, how to sharpen them. There's a lot that goes into these saws. They're a work of art, and using them is basically like an art. So you need to practice with your saw. Preferably get 2 or 3 of these saws. They're a little bit pricey, but it's worth it in my opinion for a prepper to have one of these saws, because it gives you the capability to cut firewood without a chainsaw. All right, you can even drop entire trees with this saw. All right, now you can buy 2-man saws, you can buy 1-man saws. This is a 1-man saw that can also be used as a 2-man saw. It has this little handle here that I can use for extra leverage on the pushing stroke, but I can also take this handle off and I can attach it over here, and then that converts this into a 2-person saw. All right, so if you have 2 people, you can leverage, having a second person to make the job easier. Also, these types of saws are much safer to use than a chainsaw. All right, a chainsaw is one of the most dangerous tools that you could ever use, if not the most dangerous tool that you can use. And how do I know that? I went to forestry school, guys, okay? I learned a lot about chainsaw safety. I used chainsaws a lot. I had a firewood selling business. So, if you get hurt with a chainsaw after SHTF, you're going to be in big trouble, all right? Because chainsaw wounds are not like knife wounds. They don't leave a clean cut. They rip a huge part out of your body, and that huge hole that the chainsaw leaves doesn't heal properly, and it's prone to infection. So without having expert medical care, you're going to be in a bad situation, okay? And these crosscut saws are much safer to use because you don't have a razor sharp chain, turning at 13,000 RPM right in front of your face, And if you start to get tired, all you got to do is just put the saw down, take a break, but with a chainsaw, if you start to get tired in the field, that's when mistakes happen, okay? You start getting fatigued and you stop paying attention to all the safety things that are important when you're using a chainsaw, all right? So just multiple reasons to have one of these as a prepper. I think it's really a no-brainer in my opinion. I'm probably going to get some more of these, probably at least 1 or 2 more. I'm going to probably keep this one just for practicing, and then I'll probably get 1 or 2 more for long-term storage for stockpiling. But you do have to maintain these. I'm going to do some demonstration videos, some educational videos. You do need special tools to sharpen these, and there's certain things you need to be aware of when you're sharpening them. It's not that straightforward, like, even like sharpening a chainsaw chain is much easier than sharpening one of these. But Very similar concepts apply if you have ever sharpened a chainsaw chain and you're pretty confident in your abilities to keep a chainsaw chain sharp. Then a lot of the same concepts apply to one of these types of saws. It's not that difficult to figure out. You just need a little bit of patience and time to sharpen these by hand. But in my opinion, this is a critical tool for the prepper that lives in a cooler climate. You need to be able to process firewood. It's a matter of life or death, especially in places like where I live, north central Pennsylvania. You know, we average several feet of snow every winter here. Temperatures frequently, you know, even go below 0 Fahrenheit sometimes in the winter. So I need a way to keep my house warm. And the best way to do that is with firewood. So I think this is a critical tool. It's a no-brainer. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos on crosscut saws, so stay tuned to my channel for those. Check out some of my other overlooked SHTF preps videos in my overlooked SHTF preps playlist. Other than that, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.